It's Dr. Ginny Trierweiler here, and I help women and some smart men also get big transformative results with their healthy eating and their weight loss. And it wasn't easy for me to find the answers, and so that's part of why I teach an approach that actually works. But also, I make sure that I give people a program that gives them the chance to get slender for good. So it just really sticks. I have a cat that must jump on my lap whenever I do these calls. So, all right. So what are the tricks? What are the pieces of advice to getting back on plan? So it was really amazing to see how many pieces of advice there were and how wise they were and how many of them came together under certain categories. So what's the problem here? We often decide over the holidays, I'm eating at other people's homes. There's just a lot of highly processed, non-nutritious food-like things that I love that are being presented to me with love. Like, how would I possibly say no to that? I'll just get back on plan after the holidays. I think we do underestimate, I've been talking about momentum in here for a while. I think we underestimate that it's going to be like not a small thing to turn the ship and get right back on healthy eating. We sort of think, I'll eat unhealthy today and then I'll eat healthy tomorrow. And that's not really how human habits work. It's not really how the human brain works. We're underestimating the energy it takes to get going another direction. So we're going to need a certain amount of like intention and direction. It's not just going to be today I'm suddenly eating healthy, right? I'm back to my eating healthy habits, partly because the unhealthy eating habits are so convenient. They're so highly promoted to us. We have a whole culture supporting them. And because they can be so pleasurable that they're really actually kind of causing addictive kind of responses. Like, I just really feel like I want that. I just really want that. It's really good. I love it. I used to also say to myself, I deserve it. I deserve, like, this is the best thing in the world. If I love myself, I will give this to myself. So a lot of those ideas and attachments to non-nutritious food-like substances were things that I really intentionally worked to change. But if I start saying to myself, I'm just going to treat myself over the holidays, I'm reinforcing those ideas again. So getting back on plan. So let's look at what some of the wise Slender for Good clients suggested. All right. So they started talking about things like, well, can you remind yourself that cravingful, highly processed, non-nutritious food-like substances are not treats? They're not food. Like, can you remind yourself that you studied all this and you found out these things are actually detrimental? They're not benign. When we give ourselves permission to have these things, we're telling ourselves, I think it's pretty benign. It's not going to make a really big difference. And I had really proven to myself with my own experience, with looking at hundreds of research studies and then observing hundreds of people eating this way, it really makes a big difference. It's not true that they're benign and they don't make a difference. So the advice was, remind yourself of that, look for proof of that. What the human brain wants to do is, if I really enjoy a particular highly processed, non-nutritious food-like substance, I crave it, I feel like I love it, I'm highly attached to it, it's an emotional thing, it's tied up with love, etc. When we have that kind of attachment to a food-like substance, we're naturally going to seek out proof that it's okay. That's just what the human brain does. It's called confirmation bias. So when you want to change your ideas about what's good to eat, you have to intentionally look for proof that what you don't want to believe is true, that it's actually seriously harmful. One of my clients this morning was just telling me, I'm going through a whole quit sugar conference to help me get it through my head that this is not something I want to keep in my diet. So that's one thing they said, is work on the mindset again and really getting clear. These things are really not good to me. I've been saying vagueness is the enemy of results. So they're really pointing me towards the idea of getting really clear and feeding your mind information that supports your higher intentions. So if you're trying to step away from something that's addictive, like alcohol or sugar, that actually just really escalates and really feels very important and difficult to stop, right? You're trying to moderate it. Moderation could be harder than just abstaining for a period of time. Just like it's just off the table for me for at least a period of time while I think about this, try to think about this more clearly. So when I was trying to step away from those things, it was looking for proof. Okay, alcohol truly is damaging to my gut. It truly is inflammatory, etc. I'm going to look for that information and feed it to my brain, because the alcohol industry is spending billions of dollars feeding me other information, like life wouldn't be worth living without alcohol, like, and it's not that bad for you, and maybe it's even good for the heart, etc. Right? So does that make sense? You can look for information that supports your higher intentions. If you're trying to step away from alcohol, put sugar down for a period of time. Look for information that this isn't benign. It does affect my weight. It does affect my health. So that you can take the steps to feel like, wow, I actually don't miss it like I thought I was going to. It actually is changing things in my body in real ways that matter to me. It actually is making weight loss start to get easy. All right, so here's another thing they said. Get to a really firm, unambiguous decision. It's off the table, at least for a period of time. And that comes, getting to this unambiguous decision. This is my decision. It comes from spending time thinking through the pros and the cons. Well, I've heard red wine is good for the heart, but what else? Let's look for the pros and cons of how alcohol affects the heart, how alcohol affects the body, right? Let's look for the pros and cons. Like, I really like that I feel like it helps me relax at night. Well, let's look at emotions. How does alcohol actually affect our emotional state, our mood, etc.? What does the research say? So looking for and listing the pros and cons so you can come to a firm, unambiguous decision, cutting off other options, right? Good advice, right? One person put it this way: think about whether does this food help my body or hurt my body. When we make it that clear, I'm saying, if I say a little won't hurt anything, there's like a whole thought process I skipped, which was, okay, I know it's not good for me, but I think I'll just have little enough that it won't truly be bad for me. Sounds like trying to fool ourselves, right? So one of the ways I got past that was getting really clear. There are foods and drinks that help my body be the best it can, really thrive, help my cells and my organs and my hormones and my brain and my gut, etc. And there are foods and drinks that harm my body, all of those things, right? So let's get clear, which category is this? Keep those off the table, at least for a period of time. When I asked my clients, they said pretty much what I say, which is a year is a good period of time to get a real sense. Does this make enough of a difference to just keep it off the table? All right. Another thing people mentioned was take a time out, go do something else when you're feeling like having the things that you started getting back into. So distract yourself. Some people find that really helps. Some people don't. One really big piece of advice was, if you find yourself having a step off the plan, don't keep going down that path saying, well, now I'm going to wait till after my birthday and after that cruise and after the new year and etc. Instead, it's the very next meal. I am back on plan. That is actually one of the biggest predictors of whether we keep ending up in this starting over, getting terrible results, feeling awful, in despair, or we have a step off. That doesn't predict despair and horror and ruined results. But if we keep going that way, it does. So instead, we call it simply reboot, like the next meal, get right back on the horse. So those are a couple of actions. Also journaling, really slowing down your thinking enough, right? It's our primitive brain that thinks that the non-nutritious stuff is great. It's been keeping us alive. We need to keep doing it. Our wiser brain that reads and studies and thinks about longer term consequences needs to get more in the game before the primitive brain just has us putting things in our mouth. Like, you ever feel like that? Like there's two of you in there fighting for control. And so thinking about, how do I get these two to work better together? So the primitive brain doesn't just keep me in the status quo. That's its job. It thinks, whatever I did yesterday, I survived. I should keep doing whatever I did yesterday. So that really starts to build momentum. Just keep going this direction, because it seems to keep us alive. So interrupting the direction we're going, journaling, slowing it all down can help. Okay, one thing to do is start getting aware, like raise your awareness of triggers and urges. Ooh, I thought I was going to be fine at this event, but now here I am really feeling drawn to the cookie table, or really feeling like I need to order a martini along with other people, etc. And so the advice from the group was sit and become aware. Just stop and notice triggers and urges. Keep yourself from immediately acting on them, and give yourself a chance to go, wait, what is that? Just, I'm feeling like I want a cookie. Okay, part of me wants a cookie, but part of me decided cookies are off the table for right now. And I really like, if I play it forward, I really want to see myself stay on plan and see what kind of results I can get when I stay on plan. So I'm just going to slow down. I'm going to stop and notice, oh, I feel that. That feels powerful. The thing that we want to get out of is feeling like, because that's powerful, I can't resist it. We can resist it. We want to get out of the habit of having to resist it with willpower. That's part of why we want to stick with the plan long enough that we're not having to use so much willpower. This is just how I eat. That's just not on the table for me. And then we're moving out of willpower. All right, they talked about approaching it from a what can I learn standpoint. And so maybe journaling about, okay, what was going on before I had that bloop, right? What happened afterwards? What was happening the day before? What thoughts were in my head? For me, one thought I always trained myself to catch was, I deserve it. I deserve it. What did I just say to myself? Because I learned I only seem to say that about things that are not good for me. And that's a little bit painful. And I don't want that permission thought of I deserve this, which seems to be trying to maintain the status quo. Go ahead and have the thing you feel like having that you had last week during the holidays, because you deserve it. Wait, what? I deserve it. Okay, slow down. What am I doing? I think I'm trying to stay in status quo behaviors, right? There's a lot of slow down and become aware that happens, and it feels awkward and it feels like a little tedious, and your primitive brain even thinks it's a bad idea. Don't think so hard, just act. But our primitive brain is going to keep us in the status quo, which is leading to greater and greater decline, greater and greater fat storage, etc. So we really need a period of slowing down and becoming more aware. All right, we're talking about getting back on plan after the holidays. So one piece of advice was focus on what you're winning versus what you're losing as you get back on plan. Our primitive brain says, do you see what we're losing? Remember how good the cookie was or the wine was? Okay, yeah, I can feel that there's a certain amount of loss, but what will I gain? So a lot of times the position we're in is trying to pick things that are good for us long-term, instead of just things that are good for us in the moment that actually ruin long-term results. It's good adulting kind of attitude, right? One of my clients right now is a man, and his advice was, his feedback was, I'm kind of competitive. I want that wiser part of me, the part of me that cares about my future, to win this battle. So when I start feeling I'm in a battle, I'm like, the thinking part of me is here, and I hear what you're saying, and I'm choosing. So it can help to focus on what am I winning if I make this choice that's good for my future, in favor of the one that's going to give me the most pleasure in the moment. Not that we don't want pleasure in the moment, but sometimes the most pleasurable things are the things that are harmful to our health. So trying to get our wise brain involved again. Um, Along those lines, people said, what if we could start catching the lizard brain phrases and just like listing them and noticing what they are? So the lizard brain phrases being things like, it's just going to be a little, I'm just going to have a little, it doesn't matter, I'll make up for it tomorrow. It's like these permission thoughts, right? I deserve it. I don't think it's really that bad for me. So that it's the primitive brain saying, just eat the thing, just drink the thing, just do what we've been doing. We think that's keeping us alive. It's status quo. It's driven towards the status quo. So what are the phrases in your brain? It's interesting to study this stuff because the primitive brain is just driving you with an urge. Just eat the thing. Seems to keep you alive. Let's just keep doing that. But then when you go along with that urge and give into it, your rational brain cannot help but find an excuse why that was the right thing to do. It's a really interesting thing about our brain. So we're just slowing the whole process down so our wise brain gets more of a chance to be guiding how we eat and drink. And then these guys talked about just really resolve. So people had different words. One person said, every morning I resolve, this is how I eat, along with the fact that, every morning I do my prayers and every morning I journal. She has a lot of people to take care of who have a lot of needs. And for her, it's resolving every day. This is what I do. I do it because I choose it. And so my husband's going to bring home a whole bunch of prepared food that smells really good and is convenient, and I know it will taste good, but it's really not the food that I'm eating now for my best health. It's not the food that gave me the 50 pounds weight loss and makes me feel really pretty amazing. It's not the food that makes me feel like, man, I take good care of myself. So I just resolve every day, this is how I eat. This is just how I eat. I might get tempted by other things, but it's my resolve to take really good care of my body by choosing how I eat. Someone else uses the phrase determination, just being really like, I'm determined, man. This is what I do. You can't push me off my determination. Somebody else said unstoppable. That was a phrase that worked for me. I'm unstoppable in changing my eating habits. So one thing that's interesting to me about this is as they talked about, as my clients generated this list of like 20 ideas for how to get back on plan after the holidays, one thing everybody realized is it starts to get more and more worthwhile to just stay on plan and just have fewer of those bloops, because starting over is actually a bigger deal. It takes a lot more time and attention than you want to think, right? Getting the momentum stopped. I was going in this healthy eating direction, and then I stopped that momentum and went in the unhealthy eating direction for 2 weeks. And now I want to go back this way. Like, eventually you start saying, I don't want to keep stopping and starting. I'm tired of that. I think it's just easier to keep the momentum going in this direction. Another thing that really stood out to me in their advice was like, it's more mindset than anything. It's like, you can do it. You absolutely have the capacity to eat on plan. Like if you have a healthy, I know a lot of people may not know what's a truly healthy eating plan. I think my eating plan's healthy, but I don't get very good results. That's something I teach Slender for Good clients. Would love to talk with you more about it. But interestingly, once you do have a healthy eating plan, then staying on plan is more about mindset than anything. Like I think I counted like 15 different things that they said. Now, they also talked a little bit about practical tools like journaling, having prompts in the journal every day. I used to set an intention every morning, and I would ask myself, one question that really helped me was, how do I want to show up today? How do I want it? So whatever I'm struggling with, I've got this meeting today. I'm nervous about that meeting. Nervous kind of makes me want to eat things off plan or have a drink. So what's my intention? Well, my intention is to have the meeting go this way. My intention is to show up in such and such a way, including how I'm going to show up for my dinner, right? How I'm going to treat myself at dinner. So being more intentional is a big way out of just things are rolling along with momentum in the wrong direction. One person also gave a practical advice, which was give yourself some kind of reward, some kind of rewarding activity for your healthy eating choices. I think it was an exercise activity in their case, and a play it forward idea. So interesting to me, there's actions we can take to get on plan. There's practical tools we can use to support being on plan. One practical tool I used was a checklist. Like, I know the 4 fundamental principles I'm following for my eating every day. And every day I'm going to check, did I follow that one? Did I follow this one? Did I follow this one? Did I follow this one? Those kinds of tools really helped me. We like to see things get checked off, right? It's like, yes, yes, yes. And it felt rewarding to me, gave myself a little dopamine hit for doing what's good for my health and my body. But more than anything, it was mindsets. It was getting our mindset in the right direction. And mindset, attitudes, beliefs, and thoughts, they have a momentum. They will help carry us in the right direction, right? All right, I'm going to stop there with this topic. I feel like it was a lot of advice. It's a lot of helpful advice about how to get back on track, but you can kind of hear it's not just a matter of today I'm suddenly eating healthy. It's a bit more of a process than that to get yourself going in a healthy eating direction and get momentum with it enough to get results, to stick with it, right? Something I hear from people in this community a lot is I feel like I know how to eat healthy. I just can't do it consistently. All right, so if you want to learn more about what truly healthy eating and drinking is that resets your weight for good, there's a couple of places you can learn more about it. One is on Facebook at the Slender for Good Happy Body Warriors Facebook group, which is where I'm doing this talk today. I'm also going to post it on YouTube. So that's another place you can follow the Slender for Good with Dr. Ginny Trierweiler channel on YouTube. And I would love for you to have some two-way conversations about this. So tell me if you're watching this live, tell me if you're watching this on replay, what's the biggest takeaway for you? Or do you have a piece of advice you would throw in here? Because when we're engaging two-way, it's a lot more fun. And it's a lot more likely that it will help you get different results, transform your results, because you're not just being passive, you're being actively engaged, asking questions, sharing your insights on this, right? All right, thank you for joining me today. I hope this was helpful.